Hello, everybody. Hi, LAUSD. Hola, buenas tardes. We are RSAC Campus Voices. I am Amanda Copto, today's host, and I would like to introduce to you the guest speakers today.
My name is Wilson, and I'm a senior at Washington Prep.
What's up, guys? My name is Mundi Folkwa, and I'm a junior at Harbor Teacher Preparation Academy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valeria Vallejo, and I'm a senior at Vladimir Harbor Teacher Preparation Academy.
Hi guys, my name is Dayanara Munguia. I'm a freshman at Foshe Learning Center.
Okay, wonderful. Today's title is Beyond One Leader, the Farm Workers' Movements and Civil Rights. So to provide some context, I would like to talk about the farmers' movement first. So the farmers' movements occurred in the 1960s. It was U.S.-based. It was a nonviolent effort for labor rights and fair wages for agricultural workers. And it was primarily led by Cesar Chavez and Dolores Huerta. They also co-founded the National Farmers Workers Association. So now, what does this movement mean to you guys? What does the farm movement mean?
To me, it's like the basis of like the evolution of the United States, because around this time, like there was a lot of discrimination towards Chicanos and undocumented citizens, and even though there's been proof like that it wasn't all for undocumented, but it like really had an advancement in the acceptance of undocumented immigrants.
Well said. Moody, how about you?
I would say what Cesar Chavez did I feel like he kind of like revolutionized what it means to be successful. Like especially now in our society, I feel like post-industrial, we rely so much on like white-collar jobs, but I feel like Cesar Chavez said like you could be successful as long as you're happy, and especially like in farming, I feel like he provided so much just precedence for what it means to be successful in like this economy.
Okay, wonderful. Dayanara?
I really think that like even though like current things have been coming out about Cesar Chavez, I think that without him in the movement, I feel like he was a really critical person in the movement, and without him, I feel like it would have taken longer for the movement to get on.
Most definitely. Valeria?
I think this movement was one of the first times where undocumented immigrants and Latinos as a whole were given a chance to have a equal basis in a country like America. And I think this opened the doors legally for undocumented immigrants to have the same rights as someone who is a citizen.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, well, we have to speak about what just recently happened. So, Dolores Huerta, a primary leader in the civil rights movement for Mexican Americans, she recently spoke out about years of sexual abuse and rape she experienced from Cesar Chavez. Dolores Huerta, she famously said, "Sí se puede," for those who don't know. So I would like to ask you guys, how does advocacy and awareness help movements rise once again in relevant movements today?
It took many years for Dolores Huerta to come out with like what she experienced, and it makes sense because it takes a lot to speak up on matters like this, and I think that advocacy on people that have done things like this, it really changes your perspective and views on who they are as a person, and then it makes you like think about what other things they've done. So there's like official documents where Cesar Chavez has called undocumented people wetbacks, and that has like, especially with Dolores Huerta coming out with this information, it has like opened a new way of seeing Cesar Chavez as a person and as a
It definitely makes you question history and like what are we truly learning. Valeria?
I would think that she understood how in danger this movement would be if she were to speak up during that time, because it was on the rise and she didn't want to get in the way of change and good that could happen for all of her people. And it's remarkable how long she's had to endure this pain and not talk about it and not speak about it because of how connected and how strongly she felt for the movement. And I think that should be recognized as a sign of strength.
Definitely. I do want to add that another civil rights advocate, Amanda Nguyen, she spoke out recently. She was also a rape victim. She's an astronaut now. She spoke up and said 60 years you held on to your pain, and she was thanking Dolores Huerta for speaking up. It's important to recognize that she only spoke up because other victims felt the same way. So now, Dayanara, is there anything else you would like to add about advocacy and awareness?
Similar to what Wilson said, I feel like the Dolores Huerta coming out about her her past experiences, it ignites something in the rape victims and people for advocacy of those circumstances. I feel like it really has them frustrated and angry, and it makes them want to advocate more about that.
Of course. And Mundi?
Yeah, I kind of feel conflicted because, okay, first, I think she's very brave for holding on to that information for so long. But also, I just think that Cesar Chavez did so much, and I feel like if she were to speak up, during the time Cesar Chavez was doing all the movements, I feel like it would tarnish his reputation, and it would also it would shift the focus from his movements to all his crimes and everything that he did, and I just think that is really unfair for her. Yeah. So, and I would also like to say,
She definitely carried a pressure upon her.
Exactly. And I just feel like Cesar Chavez, I don't want all the good things he done, I don't want that to be tarnished just by after he died,
Sure.
all the information to be shared about him, about all the rape allegations.
Mm-hmm. I think it's what I meant by relevant moments. We know that immigration, that's a relevant topic today, especially in communities like ours. Los Angeles, very diverse, very Latino. So Cesar Chavez, there was, during the 1960s, let me specify this, there was a Bracero program. This program let undocumented Mexican farm workers come into the U.S. without having to go through the legalization, the legal papers and all the process of this. And Cesar Chavez was really against the Bracero program because, as we mentioned, his movement was mainly for documented workers. And he set the idea that hey, these undocumented workers are coming in and taking our jobs. And that's what I mean. It really shows continuity and change in history and how people still continue to hold these sentiments and feelings over undocumented people, especially today in America. The 1960s, that was almost 60 years ago. So it really shows how that has been going on. However, I would like to raise the question, is Cesar Chavez bad? Do we have to neglect the efforts that he made? How quick should we be to judge or cancel a civil rights figure for their actions?
I think that the way that it's been so quick to change the narrative on who he is, it's been too quick, because we've known civil rights figures such as George Washington. He had slaves and he did all these bad things, but they haven't really changed. Let's say George Washington Prep, they haven't changed the name of it. And I understand that Cesar Chavez did all these bad things, and that's wrong, but then changing the narrative so quickly can also alter history and the way we learn it.
Of course. Anybody else?
I think that history has to be taught in a multifaceted way, that this person isn't just good, there's also bad to every person. And I think that should be how children, especially now, are educated on the matter, or else one day we'd be that this person is good, another day it'd be bad, and we'd be switching between it instead of focusing on what's important and what he got done. And I think that this is especially important now since social media is so ingrained in children in this cancel culture. But I do believe that his actions should be taken into account when taught such pivotal moments like the farm workers movement, and that is a moment to shine on the other voices in this movement, like Dolores Huerta, who isn't as spoken about when this topic comes up in classrooms. And it should shift the light to other speakers and other people that were there to support them.
Yeah, especially for Women's History Month, we have to be talking about Dolores Huerta. Dayanara?
I feel like the word offensive is too harsh for people of color, but it's kind of weird that as soon as a colored man, those claims came about him, everybody was so like fast to cancel him instead of like are a bunch of other white figures that we have, and so much information has come out about them, and people still like believe that they were such great leaders, at which they were, but I feel like they refuse to ignore the fact that they were bad people too.
Yeah. Have you guys heard about like the removing of a statue from the removing of a Cesar Chavez statue? And I just thought like that was really crazy to me because of all the work he has done, of course. But like some news came out, and it could be true. We don't know that because it's just been like such a short amount of time. But they like took changes like so radically, and I just think that's really crazy how like even him, for like, how do I want to say this, like how quick people could just act against like, you know, historical figures like him.
Yes, it really makes us question, does history still remain accurate? How do we move on from this, and like how do we go on about looking at these figures and really seeing them for who they are? But because it's Women's History Month, I would like to talk about sexual abuse and rape, and specifically Dolores Huerta. She spoke up in such a like relevant moment. Why do you guys believe that society harshly criticizes women who speak up against issues like these? Because Dolores Huerta, yes, she did an amazing, brave thing, but people are still heavily criticizing her for the thing she just did, speaking out.
I think that people try to find any weakness, especially in women, and that would be societal's weakness for a woman, especially since it's so pivotal, and so vulnerable for a woman to be put in a place where they have to tell the entire world that they were sexually assaulted. And I think she knew that, and she wasn't ready to undergo all that public pressure, especially as she was fighting for the rights of other people. She wasn't yet ready, and I don't think that she should be judged for how long it took her to build up that courage to speak out upon it. And I think that it fits the narrative now, since it unites victims, since it is seen that 60 years she's held on to that.
Yeah.
And that length of time that it builds for the victims, I think that it helps unite them and builds courage in them, that there is a time and there's a moment for them to speak up, and it's never too soon or too late.
Never. And especially now she embodies what like rights we should be focusing on: women's rights, immigration rights, and more on. Would anybody else like to add on?
Yeah, I would like to say it's always been a norm for like women to not speak up, you know, for them to just like stay with like their husband or stuff like that. And I just feel like, so now that she's speaking up about it now, that people are so quick to judge because it's like deviant, and you know, it's just like something different, and it's something that women were told not to do for centuries. Yeah.
And I also think like around this time, since she was such a notable figure in the movement, she would have been like attacked, like as a political figure. People would come for her and be like, "Oh, you're just trying to tarnish Cesar Chavez's name," but it's just like what happened, and it's the truth, and we deserve to know the truth.
Yeah, similar to what Wilson said. I feel like people would have came after her and saying like, "Oh, you're just trying to create a name for yourself," and like come after Cesar Chavez.
Unfortunately, and what she's trying to do is bring awareness in a time like Women's History Month. So what a wonderful episode we had today. I really enjoyed our conversation. And to all the women out there, you are seen, you are heard. The sexual assault hotline number is 1-800-656-4673. Remember, you are not alone, you are heard. Sí se puede, like Dolores Huerta said. Thank you everybody for shining light on Dolores Huerta, and thank you for this wonderful episode. We'll see you soon.